What's happening, guys? It's your commissioner here of the Dynasty, and I'm here to bring you your Week 2 previews. So, all the matchups this week, we have an 0-1 team going against an 1-0 team. So, it's possible, not probable, but it's possible that we'll have 6 teams that are 2-0 and 6 teams that are 0-2. So, not likely, but if that's the case, then all matchups next week will be against 2-0 teams and 0-2 teams. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. So let's jump right into it. As I'm going to start every preview, we will start with the Kia Sorrento matchup of the week. And we have a repeat team in this. And it's not necessarily because this team itself is bad, but because they have a really weak schedule to begin the year. And the Kia Sorrento matchup of the week is Jaquiz My Pants and Baloney 1. So the reason why they're the Kia Sorrento matchup of the week, fewest combined projected points. Like I said, this is Rob's second straight cakewalk. And not only am I making it the Kia Sorrento matchup of the week, I'm making it the rivalry game of the week as well. Maybe I should come up with a sponsor for that. I don't know. And the reason why I'm making it the rivalry game is because these two gentlemen work together. Ivan and Rob, as far as I know, I think they might even share a desk. I don't know if that's true. But so there's definite bragging rights on the line for sure for the next week. So yeah, making the Kia Sorrento matchup of the week and the rivalry matchup. For all the teams this week, I'm going to have an X factor or a question mark or something like that. For Ivan, for Baloney 1 or Jafarlik Bogenschultz. His X factor are going to be his wide receiver 2 and his wide receiver 3 slot. Because currently he has Kenny Britt and Jarrett Boykin there, newly acquired from yours truly. And these two guys combined for 0 points last week. So obviously they're going to have to do better this week if Ivan plans on even standing a chance. Rob's X factor, will his team just actually show up and actually play? If he gets all 10 guys to play, I don't see any way that he loses. Rob is going to run out newly acquired, brand spanking new Justin Forsett. When I think Justin Forsett, I think fantasy stud. The running back situation in Baltimore, there's no studs there. So, but opportunity. So maybe he comes up big. The next matchup, we got the Fear Boners and the Mason Knights. The Mason Knights are facing an 0-2 hole. If they lose this week, it is entirely probable, maybe not 99.74% probable, but it's probable that Doug will be facing a 2-game hole against both of his division mates. Jason can put this once proud franchise in an 0-2 hole. Doug's X Factor resides in Dallas, having both Romo and Witten. I've got some stock in Romo and Witten in other leagues. They both vastly underperformed last week. Can they bounce back? Jason's X Factor is going to be Jordan Cameron. Right now he's got Delaney Walker and Dwayne Allen in. Obviously, if Cameron plays, he's a huge upgrade over them. So that's Jason's X Factor. And can Hearns repeat his Week 1 performance? The most likely candidate for, what did I call it? The Kevin Ogletree Award. The Week 1 star that never does it again. I don't know. Currently, I think Fergie has Hearns on his bench. It's probably a good spot to keep him there. In terms of running backs, not a great collection of running backs here. Maybe Joik is the best running back in this matchup. The muscle hamster Doug Martin has the most projected points, but he's banged up, he's injured. These running backs, pretty freaking terrible in this matchup. Megatron caused my projections to go all haywire last week. This week, if he has another huge week, it might throw off the projections, but it'll at least be masked because the game is early. This one I went back and forth on. Don't know if I could see a Doug team going 2-0. That's what I'm going with. Febo in a close one. for your boners. Bear Down and Organized Chaos. I've got my eye on this one. I'm tied for first with Mike in our division. I called it Bear Down. Are you Bear Down? Or are you Forte Yard Dash? I don't know. But anyway, X Factor for Justin for Chaos. Can he put up triple digits this week? Will Cam Newton play? We'll have to find out. For Mike, he had a huge game from Le'Veon Bell last week. Can he continue it? Sparty on. So even though this is a 1-0 team against an 0-1 team, and Justin, the 0-1 team, had a terrible week last week, this is actually pretty close all up and down the board. I am going to give the slight edge to Mike. I see another big week for Greg Olson. I called it last week. I'm going to call it again this week. Carolina should have Cam back. I see a big game from Olson. I don't see Cam running around. I think he's going to have to throw this week. Another big game for Olson. Pretty even everywhere else. There are some significant injury concerns. I already mentioned Cam. Mike's top 3 wide receivers, all with a little Q or a P next to their name. Alshon Roddy and Mike Wallace. I think they're all going to play, but definitely something to look at going forward. So close matchup. I'm taking Mike, but I don't feel good about it. I am rooting for you though, Justin. Fisters against the Busters. X Factor for Andy. Will Demarius show up? Will it even matter? For Bork, Austin Safarian Jenkins. That's who you're going to rely on this week. Okay. Basically, this week you can repeat everything that I said last week about Borkham's Ball Busters matchup with the Rampage. I think he's going to need an absolutely huge game from Breeze. His opponent has a huge advantage everywhere else, except for kicker. So maybe Borkham's does get another 20-plus point performance out of Bryant. Even if Breeze has a huge game, even if Bryant has a huge game again, I'm making this my Stone Cold Lead Pipe lock of the week. Lock it in. I got Champion Fisters over Borkham's Ball Busters. The next matchup, Cecil's Sea Shorts versus Wright's Rampage. I'm sorry, Chris. I can't say it enough. That being said, I'm going to run back the projections this week just like I did last week. I've run out of time to fix it. So, X Factor for Chris. Who's he going to play at RB2? Who can he play at RB2? Trent Richardson, poor performance last week. Danny Woodhead, goes without saying, poor performance last week. Bishop Sankey does not have a handcuff on, or does not have a stranglehold. He's not the bell cow in Tennessee. He can't even beat out Sean Green, looking like a poor draft pick at this point. MJD, maybe this is your best option for RB2. I don't know. Maybe, or you could just leave it empty. That's a possibility as well. For Wright, will he play down to his competition this week? I don't know. Okay, so his X Factor, I'm going to make Gronkowski, and it'll probably be Gronkowski until he either plays the vast majority of the snaps or he's just injured completely, where we're not guessing anymore. He did have a touchdown last week, but he did play less than 45% of New England's offensive snaps. So still not completely healthy. Shocker, I know. One thing that the Shorts do not have going for them this week that they did last week. Last week I said it was going to be a huge game for Matt Ryan. This week I do not think so. Cincinnati, much better defense than Narlands. And I'm going to throw out a trade suggestion this week. I don't know who the recipient is, but I think Chris should try to trade away one of his 2 quarterbacks. He does have Matt Ryan and Colin Kaepernick, 2 top 10 quarterbacks. Maybe trade one of those for a running back so you're not having to play MJD every week. I know he's tried. And maybe Wrightsma is actually the partner here. I like Matt Ryan and Colin Kaepernick a lot better than Phillip Rivers. Wrights has the depth. My little nugget, my gift to you guys. There's something there. Work it out. So Chris already hates me. No sense in going against the projections here. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with my feelings. I'm going to go with what I think I need to do, and it's not to pick Chris. So I've got Wrightsma. Huge. The Rampage, huge over Cecil's Sea Shorts. And finally, the impact matchup of the week, Hurricanes and the Nuts. Brian is facing a very similar predicament as Doug is. If he loses this game, 0-2, likely both of his division mates are going to be 2-0. So this is a huge game for Brian. Huge game for the pulsating Rhino Nuts. His X Factor I have as Ellington. I got stock in Ellington elsewhere as well. Will he play this week? Will he be 100%? My X Factors, I'm going to say, are my weak spots last week. Jamal Charles and Michael Crabtree. Now, Charles had a subpar performance last week. He also had a subpar performance at Denver, which is where he's playing this week. Only 9 points last year in his MVP caliber year. That may be the only week that he scored in the single digits. And a question that I'm asking myself, am I going to play 3 San Francisco pass catchers? Just got done saying that Kaepernick was a good quarterback. I don't think he's 3 receiver good. So I'm looking at potentially putting in a Lamar Miller, who had a touchdown last week, Darren Sproles, who had a long touchdown last week. But then who do I take out? Do I take out an injured Crabtree? Do I take out Bolden, who's likely the third option? Do I take Davis, who for some reason is projected a lot fewer points than the other guys? I don't know what I'm going to do yet there. So because it's the impact matchup of the week, let's go position by position. We'll start with quarterback. Give the advantage to the Nuts, but not as huge as you might originally think. You know, Rodgers versus Luck. Rodgers being one of the best fantasy quarterbacks of the past 5 years or so. Luck plays Monday night at home against Philly. Could be a shootout. Could be a ton of points there. The Packers play the Jets. Packers are going to be angry. I see them getting up big, and I see Lacy or Starks if Lacy can't go. I see the running game being more of a factor, but I still give Rodgers the slight edge. Running back, obviously got to give this advantage to myself. The top 3 running backs in terms of projections for this week, as much depends how much you read in projections. All 3 of those running backs, Peterson, Charles, and Forte, are in this matchup. It's kind of the anti-Febo Masonite matchup where they have no running backs. We've got all the good running backs here. Now, because I have 2 of those 3, I'm going to give myself the advantage, especially if Ellington is hobbled or if the Nuts have to throw out Fred Jackson into there. Wide receiver, I'm going to give a big advantage to the Hurricanes as well. Okay, just kidding. Brian, you're probably not even watching this anyway. So I'm giving a huge advantage to the Nuts. Brian has probably the second best collection of wide receivers in the league behind the Fisters. Durs, I know you're still watching, so there's a plug for your team. My receivers, Emmanuel Sanders, Crabtree, Bolden, and Kendall Wright probably will not be able to compete with Des Bryant, Keenan Allen, Cordarrelle Patterson. So a big advantage for the Nuts there. And then tight end. Gigantic advantage for me. Now I probably won't get 5 TDs out of Julius and not Crabtree, Vernon Davis that I did last week. But both of these guys are probably top 5 tight end plays at this point. And once Gronk gets injured this week, they're probably both top 3 tight end plays. Even though projections don't like Davis for some reason. Maybe he's too touchdown dependent. I don't know. But a big advantage over Heath Miller, who last week I did say would perform poorly, and he did. I see that again this week. So big matchup. Brian, similar fate as Doug, staring at 0-2 going up against 2 potentially 2-0 teams. Can you rally the troops? Can he get them fired up? No, it's fantasy. You can't fire them up. So I don't think that he can. I'm taking myself. Canes 147 against the Nuts 134. So those are my predictions. I've got, to recap, Jaquiz big over Baloney. Fear Boners in a close one over Masonites. The Dash over Organized Chaos. I think it's going to be closer than most people would think, though. My Lead Pipe Lock of the Week is Fisters over Busters. Rampage huge over Shorts. And I've got myself the Hurricanes over the Nuts. Just real quickly, Wrightsma said on Facebook that he'd like to see more videos. I would as well. I've actually enjoyed the fact that people are responding to some of the stuff that I've been